Alrighty. My presentation is about Zen meditation. In other words, people combine the two words and they say Zazen. And right below, I put a quote by the Buddha that says, "Nothing ever exists entirely alone. Everything is in relation to everything else." And then I put a calming image right behind to kind of get the feel of Zen and meditation with the Buddha itself. So my introduction will be, throughout this PowerPoint, I'll be defining Zen, the history of Zen, Zen's points of view, also discuss what is Zen meditation, the journey to enlightenment, because a lot of people correlate Zen to the full awakening, Satori, Japanese Zen haiku, which is poetry, applications of Zen Buddhism in daily life, and also the benefits of relaxation, and so on and so forth, the conclusion and the references. So what is Zen? Zen is a Japanese transliteration of Chan, and I believe the pronunciation is Channa. It originated from a Sanskrit word for meditation, so the do have a lot of correlation. It took root in Japan around the 12th century. However, prior to that, it was in China for 500 years. So Zen points of view. Zen correlates closely with the mind's freedom. It's when a person, obviously we all know we can be stressed a lot of times, so a lot of people search little outputs to get involved in, to kind of free themselves, to calm themselves with anxiety. And there's an author who wrote Introduction to Zen Buddhism, Dr. Suzuki, and he states that Zen, in its essence, is the art form of seeing into the nature of one's being, and it points the way from bondage to freedom. In another book, there's also another statement that says what uniquely psychologically distinguishes the experiences of the self is that it is saturated with the feeling of autonomy, freedom, self-determination, and lastly, creativity. So it's just basically getting rid of all the restraints that you have on your mind on a daily basis. I'm pretty sure we all deal with that since we're in college and stressed. So this is actually one of the things that people go to kind of relieve that and try to find peace in a way. So the cardinal virtues of Bodhisattva, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but basically these 6 virtues are what make up a Zen man. And I'll be going into detail of each one. So the first one, it's basically meaning charity. This virtue is solely to give back to others in any shape, way, or form. It's just not in material goods. The Bodhisattvas are willing to give away for the benefit and welfare of all beings, anything and everything one is capable of giving. The way that I see this virtue is a way of paying it forward. For example, one day I was in a drive-thru of Starbucks and she paid for my coffee. Completely did not expect it, but it made my day. And the next time I went to Starbucks, I did the same thing, and hopefully the person behind me kind of paid it forward to someone else. The second virtue are precepts. These precepts are meant to maintain the order of a brotherhood known as Sangha. It is a modern society whose main objective is to lead a peaceful and harmonious life, which I'm pretty sure we all would like to have. The third one is humility. It basically, generally, this word means patience. This virtue is basically being able to endure difficulty without being humiliated. A way that this book that I read described it is that, let's say we do good things for others and we don't get recognition. That's okay. A lot of Buddhists and people don't want recognition. And what this quote below of Confucius, he's saying, the superior man would cherish no ill feeling even when his work or merit is not recognized by others. In other words, a good deed is not really a good deed if you're waiting for someone to give you a pat on the back for doing it. This next virtue is all about energy. It means to be lively, like a live, powerful force. It's mainly to carry the purpose of the Dharma with a strong devotion and higher energy at all times. The following one is meditation, which is what basically my PowerPoint is about. This virtue is to have the tranquility of the mind, both in a calm and disturbing setting. And a person has to be mindful at all times to be mindful of their state of mind and any type of circumstance. If you're going through a lot, you shouldn't be somewhere else. For example, if you take an exam, if you're thinking about a breakup or a messy room or something, you're not gonna really pass that exam because you're not gonna be focused on what you're doing in the moment. And lastly, this word doesn't have a translation in English. It's untranslatable, as my book said, but it does correlate to wisdom, and it's particularly about when an individual ego is surrendered to the infinite. In other words, breaking the crust. So an ego is someone who has an ego, we all know they're prideful and they're very stubborn and very hard to get through. But this last virtue, to become a Zen man, is that you put that ego away, you break down that wall, and you finally just give your all to what makes up a Zen man. So my next topic for this is the Zen meditation. The Zen meditation has always been central to Zen practice. So obviously Zen and meditation have a lot of correlation. It basically means the same thing. Meditation can take place anywhere, and those that can do it anywhere obviously have mastered a lot. For me, I haven't. I'm an overthinker, so I really have to be all quiet and be in a clear space. In the previous slides, the pictures that you guys were seeing were actually Zen gardens. You can actually buy little ones. For example, I bought one, and that's what usually I started using to help myself meditate. You have this little rake and you just follow around the stones and the sand, and you're just focusing in the moment. Another way that people actually use meditation, that this is something that I learned throughout this making this presentation, is that people achieve meditation by reciting and reflecting haiku poetry, which is actually Japanese poetry. This slide, the picture that you're seeing, it's called the unseeable. This circle represents Zen enlightenment. A lot of people like to kind of compare the two, that Zen does lead people to the key of enlightenment. It implicates that by nourishing the spiritual self through meditation, one can grasp the true meaning of existence, so true awakening. Enlightenment, Zen is often correlated to a person's examining one's original nature and attainment of enlightenment. So basically transformation in a person's character, which is Satori, which is the end game of everything. And it's to not be greedy, overcome grandiosity, humble yourself, and see oneself as he or she is. Zen is often known also as Buddhism of enlightenment, like I've said previously. And one can fully experience the true awakening through Zen. As I previously said, that people use reciting and reflecting haiku poetry. It was written in Japan for over 300 years. It's a 17-syllable poetic form. The first 3 lines carry 5 syllables, and the second one is the only one that contains 7 syllables. It always has an allusion to the season that the author is speaking about. It's more than a statement or feeling of the picture of the nature that is used, and these poems are never fully written. It is up to the reader who is reading it to fill it in with its own thoughts and memories, making him or her the own creation of the actual poem. This is one of them. It says, "Silent cherry bloom, again with your old eloquence, address my inner ear." And then I put a picture of a cherry blossom. This next one is, "Someone is walking over the wooden bridge, hear the deep frog silence." In other words, if you're walking, if a frog senses you or sees you, they actually automatically go silent. So this does go to a lot of correlates to meditation, because in order to meditate, you need silence or peaceful sounds. This other poem is I Didn't Enter, But I Stopped in Reverence, Autumn Leaf Temple. And then this last one is actually one of the most famous ones for haiku poetry, Basho. And he wrote, Snow isolated, once more I pass, my back against my thinking post. And he's actually one of the ones that actually made haiku poetry known as it is nowadays. So for me, obviously, you saw all my little pictures. They were all, calming and everything. And then this one, I put it, even though I felt like it kind of ruined my presentation in a way. But I wanted to give you guys a feel of, hecticness. Like, obviously, you don't get a good vibe seeing this. So the applications of Zen to everyday life, it is a general belief that today's pace of life is hectic. We're college students, and by being in college, we have time limits, we have presentations, we have exams, especially right now we're all cramming. I bet we're running on no sleep. Then we have to deal with traffic and activities and demands and social pressures because we have a life too to live. And it's shown and proven that our physical and mental health are compromised by all of these things that I wrote above and also expressed. And now, obviously, you see another calming, you feel peace and a good vibe. And a lot of medical professions suggest that when we learn to relax, we actually learn how to eliminate stress. And it has been proven that people who don't even practice Buddhism, like myself, partake in Buddhist activities like meditation in order to reduce the hectic parts of their daily lives. For example, a way that I also like to relieve stress, I do Pilates, and then one of the things that I also do is yoga classes that have become very popular with their emphasis on breathing and posture, because that's a lot of things that the instructor tells you to do. And with its physical application and meditation, it enables a person to solely concentrate and focus on being just in that one moment. And then obviously try not to fall over with the pose that you're trying to do. So my conclusion is that meditation, some people prefer to study formally with monks. That's something that I did, and also the reason my interest for Buddhism in general started with the man that I ended up meeting. He was a Buddhist himself, and he actually ended up teaching me a lot about Buddhism that I ended up falling in love with. Those who have not grasped the art of meditation often take classes at certain temples in order to learn how to master it and understand the true art form of it, which is actually something that I'll be partaking in soon after school is over, because I know there's this one temple that I want to go visit for the report that I'll be writing. They basically has a month thing, and it's free, and you can donate if you want, and you get to learn the true art and how to actually master meditation. Some people often go to temples like the one you see here, or shrines, to experience a peaceful environment when they want to set the mood for meditation or to learn more about Buddhism. And then here, I know I spoke a lot, but basically the true meaning of Zen may occasionally appear to be too enigmatic, which means hard to explain, hard to understand, complicated, cryptic, or full of contradictions, but it is, after all, a simple discipline and teaching to do goods, to avoid evils, to purify one's own heart. This is the Buddha way. Thank you.
Any question for her? So before you took this class, you went to the temple and studied with some Buddhist friends?
Yes, so the man that I ended up meeting, he's like a family friend, and he has houses everywhere, which is crazy because Jackie, she showed like Indonesia and Chiang Mai and Thailand, and he has houses over there. And he's originally from Germany, but he studied here in Colorado School of Mines, and he's actually he's a very famous geologist throughout the world. But he has houses in Thailand, he has houses in Indonesia, and then that's when he started getting involved in Buddhism because of his wife. She's from Thailand, and I was a senior in high school, and he has a pool, and it's a saltwater pool, and his entire backyard is supposed to represent Zen, like with the fire and the water and the air and the nature. And his pool had an Om, and I never saw one before. And I was asking him, I was like, "What is this? Like, I love it." And he started telling me, and I was like, actually, like, it was all about positive vibes and all this stuff. And I was starting college that following fall, and I wasn't in such a peaceful mindset. So I was like, you know what? Like, as an overthinker, I want to be more calm, especially since I'm starting college and I have such anxiety and stress levels. So he took me to actually one of the temples in Sugar Land and in Bel Air. And so I started learning a lot about Buddhism and stuff, and that's when I saw that this class was available. Plus, it also, you know, added for the prereq that we needed. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to take it. So it was pretty amazing.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
So one more question about you. So how could this class reinforce your knowledge about Zen Buddhism or whatever with the friends?
Well, for example, I did lose some sight of what I learned with him, because I did learn this in 2016 and what we're in 2018 now. So I did lose my way in forgetting completely about being positive and what the true me. Because honestly, what Buddhism, for me, we all have our opinions. But what it made me realize is that we're also caught up on everything that's going on, and we never know how to just enjoy the moment. Like, are we going to be 80 years old and then going to be thinking about, my gosh, like I should have just enjoyed being in the moment with my family or with my friend at that concert or at that movie, instead of stressing about this other thing that really is not going to matter in a few years from now. And that's honestly what this class made me like believe again and understand again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.